Hello, my name's Sarah Hatherley, and the next story I'd like to tell you is the day that we moved house. The day that we moved house, everything was jumbled and tossed in a box. The teacups, a bucket, even my socks. Then a man with a van pulled up out the front, started heaving the boxes with a puff and a grunt. Took hours to fill, then just as quick as a wink, he was gone with our life, left only the sink. So we piled in the car, which was loaded up too. With the bird, cat and turtle, it resembled a zoo. But something was different. I didn't notice at first. After all that hard work, I was just dying of thirst. We arrived at the flat, which wasn't at all. Had to drag ourselves up. It was 3 stories tall. So when we finally collapsed in a heap on the floor, what was missing was suddenly impossible to ignore. You see, the day that we moved house, it seemed somehow Mum lost her spouse. He was there when we left, her other half, but not when we arrived. I couldn't help but laugh. What's happened to Dad? Where did he go? He must be squashed in a box. How will we know? We'd better start looking before he gets cranky. Oh, but it was too late already. She'd pulled out her hanky. Nothing was said as the teardrops fell. I knew better than to ask when she felt unwell. It took days to unpack, and we were left in a muddle. I kept hoping to find him crouched in a huddle. But he didn't turn up in the box with my socks. Thought he'd lost the address, so I checked the mailbox. Father Christmas found me that year all right, but it was Dad I was waiting for when I stayed up all night. The bike that he'd promised was there in the morning, but the best present was hidden behind all of the yawning. See, there was one carton left, and when I opened it up, it was full of Dad's stuff. I couldn't get enough. But Mum said there'd been a mix-up and snapped it shut. I was never to touch it again. She didn't wait for my butt. And that's how it was from that day forward. We put things in boxes and tried to ignore it. If it was sad or unpleasant, like when Tweety died, we just popped him in a box and buried him outside. But it didn't take long for the place to fill up, and soon it was difficult to even find a cup. There were so many things that couldn't be mentioned, it was hard not to trip over on some unseen tension. It was a relief in the end when the walls came down. After all the tears and the anger, she lost her frown. And out of her pocket she pulled a letter. As soon as I saw it, I knew things would get better. It wasn't just the phone number and the address in the corner, or the fact that he loved me and missed me, his daughter. No, I knew in that moment that something had changed, that he'd be back in my life. It was all arranged. And together somehow we'd find a way to unpack all the boxes and throw them away. It wasn't just all their stuff I wanted unpacked. I'd forgotten what was in there, but mine seemed quite black. It was scary just taking a quick peek inside, so I waited till they were both there by my side. But it's funny how once you open the lid, it fills up with light, whatever you hid. And once you get everything out in the open, you find all sorts of good stuff. Well, that's what I'm hoping.